Thank you very much for that, Renee. Very interesting conversation you just had there. And I'm hoping that the one I'm about to have is just as good. In fact, we're about to chat to a tennis star. Raven Klaasen, star deluxe. He shouldn't be a stranger to any of you tennis fans out there. In fact, as South African tennis stars go, very few are as current or as popular as this man is. He joins us now from our Cape Town studios. Raven, good morning to you, and thank you so much for making the time to chat to us in Newsroom.
Good morning, Kendal. Nice to be here. Thanks.
Raven, here's a big one. I mean, one of the things that a lot of people have always been wondering about is you've had a very interesting career. Your career started getting hot and blowing hot and strong in your 30s only. Can you tell us a little bit about how that came about?
Oh, we're going to need a day and a half if I start from the beginning on that. My story definitely took a long time to develop, and I think that with a career like tennis, things take slow, and as I started learning what my game required to be successful and putting the right pieces in place, things started going better for me. I think that my mind game only got stronger towards my 30s, and my body sort of was always there. And now I have a good team of people around me. I have about 5 or 6 people looking at me on a daily basis and helping me out to achieve success.
Right. One of the things that's been very seminal and quite interesting to note has been your partnership with Rajiv Ram. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how that has actually given you the impetus to be where you are? I mean, you just won in Halle recently.
Yeah, Rajiv and I are very good friends. That was the first thing. We've known each other since we were juniors, and I've seen him throughout the years. He's seen me play, and it happened by chance that at the middle part of last year, we were both in a position where we were sort of without doubles partners full time. He was kind of getting to a situation where his singles ranking had kind of slowed down, and he was looking to spend more time playing doubles. So we had a discussion about how our strengths and weaknesses would match up, and we thought that if we really worked hard at it, we could have a lot of success. And now, as time has moved on, it's starting to pay some dividends.
And the life on tour as a doubles player must be very very different to that as a singles player, because that's where you started as a singles player and then eventually got to the point where it doubles. What's the difference really there for you?
Well, I think all tennis players, when you start out, your dream is to play singles, because that's what's sort of broadcast more often, and you grow up thinking about that. Doubles is generally used sort of as a facilitator to improve your singles when you're early on, but growing up in South Africa, we've got a lot of hard courts, and I spend a lot of time at high altitude in Johannesburg, which sort of really helps you with your ability to move forward and play at the net. And in doubles, that's a big advantage to have, So over the years, I gave singles a good go, and I found that my skill set seemed to translate better into doubles than in singles. And if I was going to extend my career, it definitely was going to be on the doubles court and not the singles.
Raven, we don't have a lot of time with you, but one of the things that we wanted to find out from you, previously you said that tennis for you now is more like a job as opposed to what it was when you were younger and you started it. Can you please give us a bit more on that?
Yeah, when you think of the sport initially, you play because you have a passion for the game and you really have fun doing it, But as you sort of move up the levels and also move up the years in age, sort of the reality of life kind of sets in, that you've actually got to make a living doing this, and there's bills to pay. It costs a lot to play tennis, and eventually you start feeling that you're not always able to play at your very best because of the sort of outside influences. And initially, I would say that tennis was much more of a passion for me. I played because I really loved chasing that yellow ball around the court. And these days, I get a lot more enjoyment out of seeing myself improve and going to different levels. Not that I enjoy the game any less, but I get more enjoyment from being successful and seeing myself improve.
With that said, then, how do we get to the point where we reverse where we are right now? Because currently, you and Kevin Anderson are the two marquee players that are South African out there. The two elite players from South Africa are Raven Klaasen and Kevin Anderson. How do we reverse where we are now?
Yeah, the current situation for tennis players in South Africa is brutal. Tennis is a hard sport as is. Only about 200 people in the world make a decent living playing tennis. So you're already starting out with a tough situation. And then when you put on top of that sort of our current economic situation, sort of where South Africa is located on the world map, and then all of a sudden it becomes quite daunting to consider making this a profession. So you need sort of a thick skin, you need some toughness, you need a lot of help and support along the way to make things happen. And I think that if you look at where it is right now, it would certainly aid South African tennis players if there was sort of a little bit of a nudge in the back financially or scheduling or just from opportunities to kind of kickstart a career. Because generally what happens is that everybody that seems to have some sort of talent and some sort of ability, they just they can't stay in the game long enough to really see where that goes, you know. So if there's a few better structures just to kind of bridge that gap between the juniors and the seniors, I think we'll see more South African tennis players, because at the moment, it's not necessarily based on your skill level. It's also based a lot on luck and opportunities.
Yeah, talking about nudges in the back, just the other night I was speaking to the Monzi brothers, Kolu and Sipho Monzi, two youngsters who've apparently been accepted into the IMG Academy, and they're needing that nudge in the back, and I think they would understand exactly what you're talking about. Now, in closing, Davis Cup and prospects of us seeing you in the green and gold and a little bit of white, how are those looking for next year?
Yeah, Davis Cup has always been a big part of my schedule. You know, I played one tie this year, and we haven't found out yet what the schedule is for next year, but I'll definitely be speaking to our captain, Marcus, and looking at where I can fit that into my schedule. As I get older, though, it's harder and harder having more weeks on the workload, but I've always enjoyed playing for South Africa, and I think that we're a better team than Group 2, you know, so if I can aid us in getting up to Group 1 and fighting possibly back for the World Group, I'll do all I can.
Raven, we want to thank you so much. I think that's certainly good news for all of us South African fans, that you're definitely looking forward to seeing if you can get us back into Group 1 and then also into the World Group. Thank you very much for your time, sir.
Thanks for having me.